And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Howdy everybody, I'm Tom Vasel, and today we're taking a look at a smallish game called Sovereign Skies. I didn't know much about this game. It's shiny box. That actually doesn't really attract me to a game. And in fact, I looked at this game. Deepwater makes some pretty good stuff, but at the same time I thought, I don't know, small space game. I'm used to space games being big and grandiose. But when I opened it up and looked at it, I thought, well, there's a lot of pieces in here, but it looks like a fairly straightforward, what we would call Euro-style game. This didn't look like a space game of conquest. This is more about moving around in a circle. In fact, in board gaming terms, this is often called a rondel, where you're going to be moving around a circle a certain number of spaces and then taking an action. And that's what this game is. It's all about this space rondel. Let me show you. The game has these 6 planets that are placed randomly together to form this circle here, and each player is going to have a spaceship that they're going to be putting onto the board. Each player also has their own little area where you're going to have your unplayed bases here, as long as places to put victory points as you get them throughout the game. Whoever has the most victory points at the end is going to win. On a player's turn, they're first going to move their spaceship. You'll notice that in each of these areas there's an arrow, so your spaceship's going to be sitting on one of these, pointing in a direction. And when you move your spaceship, you always move at least one planet. You can pay energy, which is the currency of this game, and for each energy you pay, you can move an extra space. And in fact, you can pay 2 energy to turn your spaceship around and then go the other direction. That's completely up to you. Once you finish wherever you land on a planet, we're then going to see if there's a majority of somebody else on that planet. Now, there are different things that players can leave on planets. There are drop ships, which you can see. Players are going to start the game with some drop ships out there. There are bases, and there are activated bases. So the control of the planet goes to whoever has the most activated bases. So right here, red controls the planet. Then you go to regular bases, so in this case, green controls the planet. And then you go to drop ships, and in this case, nobody controls the planet. So that person gets an energy. Then, once you land it there, you can take 1 to 3 actions. Each of these spaces shows you the different actions that you can take. And if you take 2 actions, nothing happens. You just take those 2 actions. If you take only 1 action, you get an energy. And if you take 3 actions, you pay an energy. But either way, you can only do each of these actions once. The actions are, at every single spot on the board, you have the same action you can take, which is to put out one of your drop ships on the planet where your spaceship is. So if I'm green and I landed here, I can put a drop ship here. That's on each spot. Also on each spot, you can take the card this is the politic card that matches that. You can only have 1 card from each of the areas on the board. So that's, if I want to take this card, the strategic card or the legion card or the courageous card, I need to land on those particular planets. The third action on each planet is going to be different depending on which planet it is. So let's take a look at each of these. First of all, you can construct a base when you're on Ute here. To construct a base, you need a certain number of drop ships on a planet. That depends what color planet it is. So green, you only need 2 drop ships. Here you would need 3. So if I had 3 drop ships here, I could remove those and put a base here. Then here, I can activate a base. I can turn that base over and activate that base. And I also, when I do that, I'll collect the topmost chit from the stack that matches that planet's color. So over here on the side, we have a bunch of the planets here. So once I activate a base on a planet, I'm going to take that. These are worth victory points at the end of the game. This is the politic action. When you take that action, you will take the matching, you'll turn in a politic card from any of the planets, and you will take this matching chit here, which is worth 3 points at the end of the game. These can be stolen, but you have to have a majority on the planet that you're stealing from. Otherwise, you simply just take a normal 1 point from the bank. We also have an area here where you can move 2 of your drop ships from one spot to another spot. We have a refuel spot where you can get 2 energy plus 1 energy for every base that you have out there. And then we have the spot where you can recruit a senator. When you recruit a senator, you need to discard politic cards that match the 2 symbols showing. There's 3 stacks here, 1, 2, 3 dots, and so you'll recruit them. This gives you a one-time action. There's 2 different actions on each card, so you can see here, for example, this one gives you 3 energy, or you pay 1 less energy when you're moving your spaceship. But also when you take a senator card, you'll take the top tile from one of these stacks, which again are worth points. When all the tiles in a stack are gone, you're simply just going to get the points shown on the mat, taken from the generic points. These stacks are important, by the way, because from both these stacks and from the planet stacks, when 2 of these stacks are completely gone, that's going to trigger the end of the game. Everyone gets equal turns, and then you simply add all the points from the different stacks and things that you have gotten. There's also a variant you can play where each player has a special ability that you have for moving your ships. Like one ship doesn't pay the turn around. This one can move an activated base to an adjacent planet, and you just pick one of those that you'll be playing with. And that's how you play. Components for the game are very simple but very effective. All the cards are really good quality with a linen finish. These boards fit together. You can, shuffle them up and put them together. The spaceships are, they're a little generic looking. And in fact, I like some of them better than the other, but they all look different from each other. So I like that. I like that you have a board or the mat. There's nothing in this game that's overly complex. It's all pretty simple on how to put all the pieces out. I like the components, and there's a lot of stuff in a small box. Sovereign Skies is a game that just makes me happy to play it. I don't know how to explain necessarily my mind shift, but when I went in there expecting as a space game, it's an action game, it's a nice, quick, fast game that feels meatier than it seems that it should have a right to do. The gameplay here is, I would say, somewhere between 30 and 45 minutes. It says 45 minutes in the box, but it all depends on the players because it really isn't a long game. The game is about moving a spaceship and then taking 1 to 3 actions. That's it. Now, the moving around it at the beginning of this review, I called it a rondel. And that's essentially you can just keep moving one space and taking those actions, not spending any energy at all. But it's up to you to decide when it's important to spend that energy so that you can skip over and take the action that gives you this cool thing. There's the area control aspect where you want to control the different planets on the board. There's the, get the different political cards to trade them in to get those senators. The senators then being worth points, really. I mean, that's a lot of points. Or getting the area control on the planets because whenever someone else lands there, you get energy, which lets you take more actions as the game goes by. And then you can take those planet tiles, which are worth points. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not like this game is going to have tons of various routes and strategies. Having played it, it's pretty obvious you're going to go for the area control, you're going to go for the senators, and it's a mix and match, and you're just trying to be slightly more efficient than everybody else. That's how a lot of these games work. But what this one does is it makes it so easy breezy, and yet, while it's easy breezy and you're collecting a few tiles and that's the game, it does a couple things really well. One, it gives some nice player interaction without feeling too dagger in the heart style because you land on other people's things, giving them energy, so you might pay that energy to skip it and not give it to them. You can steal those tiles one from another, although it's not just easy enough. You have to have area control so they can see it coming. And then, of course, the area control itself. And getting a politic card or the senator before somebody else does. So all that's in the game. It's an interactive game, but it never feels too mean or over the top. So that's one thing. The other thing is, it's not that it's that difficult to figure out. There are 6 tiles, each with a distinct action on them, and that's what you're looking at. You might be looking at, do I want to add a drop ship to that planet, or do I want a politic card from that planet? That's important, but it's those other actions. And so the game has quasi-randomness, where you put them together in a different order each time, and each game's going to play slightly different, and I highly, highly recommend you play with the special abilities for each of the different factions. That way it feels slightly different, but it's light enough that I don't think I would want to play it, multiple times every week, learning the new strategies. But it's heavy enough that it's not just another filler, a game that I play between other games. It feels like there's some meat here. This fits a nice niche for me. This 45-minute game when I don't want to sit and play just some little old light game, but I'm also not in the mood to play a big, giant, heavy game either. This one fits the spot nicely, and when it's done, it feels like a really satisfying game to play. Turns are also pretty quick. I move the spaceship, take 1 to 3 actions, and the actions are like boom, boom, boom in that sense, and you're done. And that keeps things flowing. There's a solo variant in here. I've not done that, but Mike from our channel has, so you can see what he thinks of that. I do know he likes it. I really enjoy Sovereign Skies. It felt like it uses a lot of things that I've seen before, and I don't know if it's the components or just the simplicity and honestly the elegance of how it all fits together that made it feel refreshing anyway. If you say, Tom, what's different about Sovereign Skies? I would have a hard time pinpointing that, other than it's just such a little well-oiled game that I don't care if it's not that unique or different, but the combination and mix of things feels really well. The rondel has been used in big games. Matt Gertz is the master of this, and he has a rondel that's a part of a bigger game. This takes the rondel, makes it the main focus of the game, brings the game around it, builds it around the edges. You can feel the victory points as you're kind of just crumbling them off, and it plays quick, smooth, and really I like it. I like it. I like it despite the fact that the space theme seems a little meh, and I like it because it has nice components, but you can say, wow, nice components aren't good enough for a game. You're right. But it just all comes together in a really well done package, which at this point in time is what I'm seeing from Deepwater Games. They're making these games that anybody, this is a game that I could play. If someone says, I don't really like space, I'd be like, no, try it anyway. Someone says, I don't know about these new fangled board games. I'd say, hey, try it anyway. This one's simple and fast enough for you to get into. And it feels, like I said, it feels like you're playing a heavier game. And then it's done. You're like, hey, let's play it again. And I could see this one easily being played twice in a row each time it's played. So that's Sovereign Skies. Check it out. I'm Tom Vasel. We'll see you next time. Dice Tower Judgment approved.